Hello, I want to speak to you today about the shocking scenes we've seen this week in Palestine, Gaza, as Palestinian protesters gathered at the fence to protest about losing their land and also about the American embassy being situated in Jerusalem. Now, let's be very clear here for the outset. I am not anti-Semitic. I'm an Ulster Protestant and we fly Israeli flags from most of our lampposts. And if you look at Ulster Loyalist parades when they're going against Republicans, we're waving Israeli flags and the Republicans are waving Palestinian flags. And as an evangelical Protestant, you know, I come from the camp where we've always supported Israel very strongly. And as I say, in Northern Ireland, Israel is absolutely supported by most Loyalists and Protestants and Unionists. So that's the camp I come from. So I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm not a Nazi in any way, shape or form. My father joined the army to kill Nazis during the war, so I can't stand any of that stuff. However, look, we've got to look at this seriously. You know, 60 people, including a child, including a baby, shot dead by snipers. For people, okay, they were rioting, they were throwing stones, they were throwing things, Molotov cocktails, a few of them were flung. But to gun down 60 civilians, it's unbelievable. And of course, if this happened in any other country, in any other context, the world would be clambering to look at the UN for military intervention. The troops would be on the ground. Look what happened in Kosovo when the Serbs were fighting. You know, NATO came in and bombed the Serbs and told them to stop killing people. Look what happened in Northern Ireland, for example, on Bloody Sunday. 13 civilians shot dead, and you know, this was 50 years ago and it's still a big topic today, especially amongst Americans. And we'll look at Sharpeville Massacre, South Africa. We can look at Tiananmen Square, where civilians were butchered by the authorities. So why is it any different in Palestine? And look, people who know me know I am no friend of militant Islam. I'm no friend of anything other than Christianity. So my credentials are impeccable. So I'm certainly not anti-Semitic and I'm certainly not a lackey of the Muslim world. Let's get that very clear. But anybody who knows me already knows that. It's beyond question. But what worries me is this, the dehumanisation of the Palestinians and the Muslims. And let's not forget, there's tens of thousands of Christian Palestinians. People forget that. You know, and I complained about it the other day on social media. And many people that I know and respect were saying, no, to hell with them, who cares, kill them all, and all this kind of stuff. And I suddenly realised that people in this country, and I've thought this for a while, have been whipped up into a complete frenzy of hate against all Muslims. Well, let me tell you something. The reason there's Christians alive today in Syria is because Muslims, mainly Shia, defended them. The reason ISIS were kicked out of Iraq is because other Muslims, Sunnis, fought them and died and kicked them out. So, and also remember that most of the victims of ISIS and Al-Qaeda were other Muslims. So let's get real about this. But when I'm looking about in Britain, I get very worried. Because I see people who I know for a fact are not right-wing, but they're taking the mantle of being right-wing. But they're liberal, they're pro-LGBT, they're pro-feminism, they're pro-multiculturalism, but they hate Muslims. And they're whipping up huge crowds in Britain on the streets. And the mantra is just, all Muslims are bad, all Muslims are bad, all Muslims are bad. This is wrong. And I'll tell you what this is an attempt to dehumanise the entire Muslim population. So, when things like this in Gaza happen, nobody cares. They're dehumanised. This is exactly, perversely, this is exactly what happened in the 1930s when the Nazis dehumanised the Jews. They made them less than human, which then paved the way for a mass extermination, and everybody went, well, what do we care? Because people have been conditioned to look upon the Jews in the 1930s as less than human. People are now being conditioned in the West to look upon Muslims as less than human. Look, we know there's problems with the jihadis. We know there's problems with the Wahhabis and the extremists. I'm a guy who's on the front line. You'll see me in many videos. I'm on the front Turkish border, Bulgaria-Turkish border. I'm down in Kosovo. So I don't want any keyboard warrior saying, you're a sellout, Dowson, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about because I ain't seen you in any of these places. I've been there. I've been in the border. I've been eyeball to eyeball with mad jihadis. And it's not a nice experience, but I've been there. You haven't. But I'm telling you, the people who are whipping up this crazed hatred against Muslims are dangerous. Because the vast majority of Muslims are okay. there is a problem with the extremists. But by treating them all the same, you're driving the moderates into the hands of the extremists. And this is counterproductive. It's not only unchristian, but tactically, even if you look at it from a military tactical position, it is bloody stupid. It's insane. And it's not right. And what kind of people are we when we can stand back and laugh or rub our hands in glee when 60 civilians are shot down? Do you not understand that if a government in a so-called Western civilised democracy gets away with this could happen here. This could happen to your kids. This could happen to your grandkids. Because once that ball starts rolling, once these things are set down that it's okay to do that because that particular section of society doesn't matter, maybe it's us next. Maybe it's right-wing people. Maybe it's conservatives. Maybe it's left-wing people. Maybe it's communists. Maybe it's gays. Maybe it's straights. Who knows? When this is allowed to happen and people have no natural humanity towards the suffering and pain of other people, folk, we're finished. We're morally bankrupt and we have no right to then criticise Islam, their ways, their religion, their way of life, if we can sit comfortably back and watch 60 people being butchered on their own land. What was the death toll amongst the Israelis? 0. What was the injuries amongst the Israelis? 0. The Palestinians have buried 60 people, including children, even a baby. This is not right. It's not good. We have to speak out about this. We just cannot give any country, even it doesn't matter how sympathetic we are to Israel, we cannot give a government carte blanche to murder its citizens in such numbers. It's ridiculous. It's disproportionate. It's not right. And again, we have to be careful with this whole hatred that's building up against Muslims. Look, if we have to fight jihadis, so be it. You know, any decent citizen will do that. But to class every Muslim as a potential jihadi or a nasty person or a horrible person whose life is in some way not as worthy or not as valuable as my life or my children's life, it's just wrong. It's plain and simple. I could go on a religious rant here, but I'm not going to do that. It's just wrong. You know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. We're all human beings. We're all somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's father, somebody's brother. We're all the same. And this is not on. And when I look out in the streets of Britain right now, there's some people who have been paid by outside influences just to whip up anti-Muslim hysteria. And it's not good enough. Let me tell you something very clearly. Islam, the Muslims coming to this country, did not cause the collapse of the West. It's because the West has already collapsed, because of our decadence, because of our low birth rates, because of our lack of faith, because of our lack of tradition, because of our rebellion, the West has collapsed. And into that vacuum has poured the Muslims and other immigrants. They didn't cause it. They're only a symptom of what we caused. So until we deal with the real problem, which is us, our way of life, our way of thinking, our way of dealing with things, there's no point in mourning the Muslims. I mean, how many people crack up because a church has turned into a mosque? Well, how many times would you go to that church? Maybe if you'd have attended that church on a regular basis, it wouldn't be a mosque today. Do you see what I'm saying here? There's no point in keeping blaming other people for our failings. And it's not right. And it's going to end in tears. And we have to really be careful that we are not sowing a very, very bitter harvest for the future. I love my country. I will defend my country, even with my very life. But getting on the bandwagon of mindless hate and bigotry against a people and rubbing your hands in glee when so many innocent people are shot down, count me out. That's not my way. Jim Dawson's not in for that. And I would ask people to think seriously, deep in their heart as a human being, is this right? I don't think so. Thank you and God bless you.